Alan, you've done a bunch of writing before on this topic, and obviously you've done a lot of work on conservation, and of course George has been covering amazing subjects for over 30 years. Can you talk about how you all came together to work on this project together?
The idea did begin, as George said, in the Antarctic, where I was lecturing, and we were on a ship, and there were these Indian guests, and they introduced us to the Sundarbans. And it was just so intriguing to hear about a place that you'd never heard of. And George has a very exotic childhood, as he mentioned, you know, Somalia and Kenya, and I certainly traveled a lot too, and I was just amazed, we were amazed that we never heard of a place called the Sundarbans. And as George said, you know, the art of what movies can do, like nothing else, is take you to a place you've never imagined. And so here was a new landscape that was the domain of the most iconographic animal in the world, which was a tiger. And so we decided it sounded like a good movie, and went on a kind of scouting trip that I covered for the New Yorker in a story called Tigerland. And then immediately realized that this was just a great location, and it would thought this is a wonderful kind of venue for a story that's about an animal on the edge of either, the Sundarbans is either drowned with high tide or laid bare with low tide. So it's sort of alternately primordial or apocalyptic. A primordial or apocalyptic. Every 6 hours the tide changes the whole landscape. And that seemed to be the kind of metaphor for the tiger. It was right on the edge. It's either going to go under or it's going to survive. It's going to go under or it's going to survive. And so we knew that we needed a hero, and George is all about character and character-driven stories. I ended up traveling with him to Burma and to Thailand, and came back and knew that, you know, this was somebody who would very, very much have, the more you knew of him, the more he would stand up, as it were. And we heard Alan speak here in New York, and within the 2 minutes, George turned to me and said, this is who we have to get. And so he then, you know, sort of essentially assaulted Alan like a sort of arch predator to make sure that he could get him for his movie. And the arrest is, you know, is what happened. And Alan gave freely and generously of, you know, a very, very busy life, very, very busy time, but we could not have done it with any other human being.
Alan, can you tell us, do you feel hopeful going forward about conservation of tigers, and what can you talk about the future in the Sundarbans?
No, I think that there's a lot of hope, but let me just back up a little, because I wanted to make it clear how important this film is to me. When this was not an easy film for me to make. I don't want to bare my soul the way I did in this film, and my wife wasn't particularly happy about it, frankly. And when George first came to me about making a film, what I thought was another documentary, I said no. I had sworn off documentaries. It's not as if I'd done a huge number, but I had done a handful of documentaries with Nat Geo and BBC. Great films, great teams. But I hadn't seen anything change. To me, documentaries are beautiful, and they're worthy and still need to be done, but I just had too much to do, and any time taken away from the field for something that in 30 years I just hadn't seen documentaries drive enough change in people's attitudes and in people's actions. George promised me this would be a different kind of film, and he delivered on that promise. And that's why this film is like that. I would only participate in a film that could possibly bring people in, change hearts and minds of not just people who love animals, not just the already won over, but outside people, the audience as a whole. That's why I allowed myself to be exposed as I did.
With that, I'm going to open it up to the audience for any questions that you have for our panel. Yes, right here.
Thank you, Dr. Rabinowitz, for all the work you've done. So I work with crocodiles and leatherback sea turtles, and your last book on the jaguar, you spoke of ground truthing, talking about the jaguar corridor, which is really astonishing how far it stretches. What can I do to volunteer to work with these projects with the big cats in terms of ground truthing or conservation?
Well, if you're already with these are I get this kind of question. You sound like you're already in the field. You're already doing things in the field. If you're already in the field, there's a lot we could do synergistically, because this is what conservation truly suffers from, is all of these individual projects and individual people and individual organizations working, not working together, sometimes intentionally not working together, staking out territory. And we can solve this thing if we work together. Whether you're working on crocodiles or turtles, if you're in the area of the jaguar corridor, which you probably are, then there are ways that we can work together.
How do you feel going to another countries to explore this subject and to try to raise awareness of these issues when the United States is not definitely an example? And the other question is, what is happening here in the United States, and what should we move forward to?
I automatically travel, and I love going to places I haven't been to before. And since Sunderland is such a wild, crazy place, the guy who fell drunk on the floor of the cabin was going to be one of our senior aides in making the film.
I think that what the film showed, what we learned in making the film, was that, as Alan said, the local people actually very clearly understood all the arguments that you would bring to local people and say, well, here's why you should save tigers. They already knew, and they really knew it. They didn't just know it as a sort of message taught in school. They understand that the forest is their livelihood. They see close up, when you live close to it, how it can be eroded. They understand that by having tigers in there, the forest is protected in the perverse way. The tigers keep people out. They understand that, so you don't need to lecture them. Some of the seminal work on tiger conservation has also happened in India and being sort of, exchanged in these collegial, in collegial exchanges. So I think that the main thing is to find out what people on the ground already think and do and feel, and not try and temper with that if the basic mindset is there for conservation, and on the other hand, analyze very closely what is actually needed. And one thing that partly with Alan, when you were answering the question about different people working together or not working together in conservation, one of the most remarkable things about these apex predators, the big cats, I mean, if you save the big cats, you save the world, because they cast the shadow. Their domain encompasses all the other small areas of all the other smaller animals that need to also be protected. So big cat conservation is a kind of umbrella conservation and must work with all the things under its shadow. But that's the message that I am now sort of promoting. If you save the big cats, you will save the world.
I'm afraid that is all the time that we have for questions. All right, thank you so much to Dr. Alan Rabinowitz, Carolyn Alexander, and the great George Butler. Thank you, everyone.